and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Star Trek Voyager Elite Force is one of my favorite games ever. Okay, I freely admit, in comparison to stuff made in recent years, the plot is straightforward, the graphics are blocky, it's very linear and doesn't require a lot of thought, and there are certainly better first-person shooters out there, but I loved playing this game when I was a bit younger, and I still enjoy playing it. Hell, I remember spending my birthday playing it one year, just the entire day, taking breaks only to eat. I love this game. Heck, I even made a Let's Play of it.
Eat my purple death!
Nice going, Munro.
Oh, shut up. That phaser's too dull.
Any questions?
What is love,
Sounds
sir?
like a...
There. Ooh.
Oh, fools rush in, Telsia. Shouldn't we have an engineer work on this? I mean, I blow stuff up.
I meant to do that.
Man, this sucks.
I'm not sure if there were other Star Trek first-person shooters before this, not a game expert here, but for me, actually being able to walk around the USS Voyager and having the entire cast of the show on hand to lend their voices, I had the expansion pack since the original didn't have all the voices, made the experience like I was watching and participating in a better episode of the series. But let's get some background out of the way. If you haven't seen Star Trek in any of its incarnations, or in any of my previous reviews, go and watch them. I'll wait. Screw it. Star Trek Voyager is the fourth Trek series and one of the shows that launched Paramount's TV network. Voyager's premise is that an alien being sent to the USS Voyager about 75,000 light-years from friendly territory, meaning it'll take them about 75 years to get home. The road back home is treacherous, full of unknown species and threats and phenomena unlike any that they or the viewers have ever seen before. To make matters worse, they must integrate former resistance fighters that would frequently clash with Starfleet ideals and ways of doing things into the crew. At least in theory, that was how the show was supposed to work. I'm not here to give a full review of Star Trek Voyager, but the problems of the show are better covered by reviewer SF Debris, who you can find here. So how does the game fit into this? Well, to combat the more deadly threats before them, a commando squad called the Hazard Team is put together with better weapons and tactics than the average Starfleet security officers, which, if you've seen Star Trek, isn't exactly known for being all that effective. Play Ensign Munro, second in command of the Hazard Team, who's got a chip on his shoulder, but is ultimately a badass since he's really the only one who knows what he's doing. You kick alien ass, save the day, and are awarded with command of the Hazard Team. And why not? You are, after all, the only competent person on the ship. Naturally, there was a comic book tie-in, which was released before the game even came out, so of course it got a lot of the details wrong. So let's dig into Star Trek Voyager Elite Force and behold the glory of Ensign Munro!
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
We're not going to talk about the cover because I'm reading from the special collector's edition, which has actually a second story in it that we're not going to cover. We open to Voyager under attack by a Borg cube. Captain's log, stardate 53854.7. Our attempt to sneak past the Borg in this sector has failed. We have no choice but to counterattack to buy ourselves breathing space. And to, not get assimilated. The Hazard team has been transported over to the cube to plant explosives that'll distract the cube long enough for Voyager to escape. Naturally, the plan has gone to hell almost immediately, and the team is about to be overrun by the Borg. Chell's hurt bad, Munro! I need an emergency beam out! What, did he trip? How the hell did he get hurt? Oh, I see. The Borg are using energy weapons that blast them, despite the fact that in Star Trek, the Borg don't use energy weapons when dealing with individual people. They just assimilate them. The Borg are like zombies. They just keep coming at you since they can adapt to your weaponry. They don't need handheld guns.
You can't outrun them. You can't destroy them. If you damage them, the essence of what they are remains. They regenerate and keep coming. Eventually, you will weaken. Your reserves will be gone. They are relentless.
Hell, even in the game it was pointed out that the Borg using energy weapons was unusual, and that was because of... Nah, screw it, I could spend an hour geeking out like this. Anyway, the point is that the team is surrounded by what looks like dozens of Borg, until they're saved by Lieutenant Foster, leader of the Hazard team. He's wielding one of the guns from the game, the Infinity Modulator, or IMOD, which is supposed to be impossible for the Borg to adapt to. However, before Foster can lead them out, this suddenly becomes tentacle hentai as random mechanical tendrils come out of the ceiling, grab Foster, and pull him up. This comic took a very weird turn, and it's only page 4. Foster drops the IMOD, which Ensign Munro takes up by leaping at it in an overly dramatic fashion. Also, take a look at where his legs are. Apparently he's doing the splits in midair. He starts shooting all around him with the IMOD. Damn, even with this firepower, there's too many driving me back! You know, just a second ago, Foster was able to take out like 5 of them without breaking a sweat. While his teammates are overrun by about a bajillion Borg that weren't there a minute ago, I guess he was playing on a hard difficulty, Munro makes a run for it and gets behind a wall for cover. The wall subsequently opens up and he falls right into it like a clumsy idiot. Random tentacles, holes that you just drop into. Apparently a Borg cube is just one big funhouse. Munro drops into an assimilation chamber where his teammates all emerge as Borg. I can't shoot you! I can't shoot! Oh man up, Munro! This is especially dumb after we learn that indeed this is all a holodeck simulation. It was all fake. So what the hell is he doing panicking and screaming that he can't do it? Wait, if this was a holodeck simulation, what the hell was with that first page exterior shot of a Borg cube attacking Voyager? You have been assimilated, Mr. Munro. Had you followed Hazard team procedures, you may have survived the simulation and achieved your objectives. What procedures? No, seriously, what procedures? They were surrounded by Borg, being shot at, and he fell inside a hole before being attacked by more Borg. Unlike in a video game, you can't just go running around and kill everything like Rambo. The mission was a failure as soon as we learned that tentacles on this ship can just randomly grab you out of nowhere. So tell me, oh wise and logical Vulcan, what exactly is the Hazard team procedure for this sort of thing? 7 of 9 has designed these simulations to assist in combat training. You still have 2 to complete. They will be more difficult. Consider this one a Kobayashi Maru. Wow! There's a lot of dumb in just those few sentences. Let's begin. Okay, simulations for combat training are fine, but Tuvok's statements become completely null and void when he says that Munro needs to consider this a Kobayashi Maru. The Kobayashi Maru scenario isn't a combat simulation. It's a test of character. For those not in the know, the scenario is that a captain needs to choose whether to go into a forbidden area of space to rescue a ship that has accidentally drifted into it. However, if the captain goes in for the rescue mission, they are then surrounded by enemy vessels that quickly destroy the ship. The idea is that every captain at some point may have to face a situation where there's no way to win, no way to get out, and will most likely result in the ship being destroyed with everyone along with it. The test of character is...
How we deal with death is at least as important as how we deal with life, wouldn't you say?
The entire purpose of the Kobayashi Maru is to fail and show how you deal with a situation where there is no solution. Now, here's where this all gets incredibly stupid. Tuvok just said this was combat training. The idea of combat training is that the situation can be resolved, and that the training is to make you better prepared to succeed. This is a very real situation that Voyager can run into. Pursued by a Borg ship, and the Hazard team needs to pull off a dangerous plan to save the ship. By calling it a Kobayashi Maru, you're saying that if this ever happens to Voyager, well, might as well kiss our asses goodbye. But hey, at least we'll have followed proper Hazard team procedure before our individuality is suppressed and we become mindless drones. Furthermore, the entire point of the Kobayashi Maru is to fail. And Munro failed. He did exactly what the scenario called for him to do. And yet Tuvok is berating him for failing. Did someone turn over 2 pages at once here? Did we leave out some dialogue? This didn't make much sense in the game either, but at least we saw that it was Munro's impatience that got him to fail the simulation. Now let's show how it's even dumber with that remark. Tuvok says that Munro still has 2 more combat scenarios he has to complete that are more difficult than the one that was just called a no-win situation. How does it get more difficult than not possible to win? I couldn't fire on my own people. It was impossible.
You may encounter Enterprise crew members who've already been assimilated. Don't hesitate to fire. Believe me, you'll be doing them a favor.
Precisely, Mr. Munro, and someday you will be called upon to do the impossible. Someday I will call upon you to kill your fellow crew members. Tuvok's not done being a dick, so he brings the Hazard team to the briefing room and berates them. The Hazard team is designed to provide Voyager with a baseline of security and defense. Isn't that what a Starship security team is for, Tuvok? Never mind, please continue. He goes through them one by one, telling them how much they suck and are morons, but he's interrupted by the ship lurching from an attack. A red alert is called throughout the ship, telling the crew to get to battle stations. You heard the captain, Mr. Munro, and let's hope this isn't an impossible situation. I find it impossible that you could be any more of a colossal prick, Tuvok. Care to prove me wrong? An unknown vessel is attacking Voyager and refuses to answer hails. Janeway asks Harry Kim for a status report, and it's Chakotay, the first officer, who answers. Oh, but that's fine. I know how difficult it is to connect a word balloon to the right person. After all, it doesn't seem like anyone who actually made this comic knows anything about Star Trek Voyager in particular, so why would you expect them to know which character is which? Phasers have no effect on the alien ships, so they launch torpedoes. The ship explodes, but in its destruction, it unleashes an energy wave that transports Voyager from normal space into slightly less than normal space, filled with alien wreckage. Before they have a chance to recover, they detect a Borg cube heading their way. Well, Mr. Munro, I believe it is time for you to start killing us all. They detect that the cube is damaged, but it's still clearly a threat. Borg drones start beaming onto Voyager, specifically engineering. Chief Engineer B'Elanna Torres tries to stop them, and promptly gets knocked out for her troubles. Here's a tip, next time try a gun. The Borg start ripping out systems from Voyager and beaming them back to their ship. Foster moves in to try to stop one, but it grabs him and beams him away as well. And like someone saying, "Are you okay?" right after punching us in the face, the fight's over. We just for no reason cut to Janeway's ready room, where Tuvok and Chakotay are giving their report on the attack. A few crew members, including Foster, were also taken, and with the components gone, Voyager is essentially crippled. However, Ensign Munro was able to capture one of the Borg. Boy, wouldn't that have been nice to see, instead of Torres getting smacked around? They're also detecting another alien ship heading their way, but it's of an unknown design and it won't arrive for a few more hours. In the meantime, they decide to interrogate the Borg drone they've captured. They bring 7 of 9 along too, because of her being a former Borg drone and all. I hate to ask, but can you get anything through your empathy with the collective? She then proceeds to directly read the drone's mind. For the record, she could not do that on the show, or in the game. Then again, this didn't happen in the game. There were like 3 or 4 missions on other ships before they ran into the Borg again in the game. This comic can't seem to get enough of the Borg. Reading its thoughts, she says that the area they're in is a technobabble something or other to conceal a big structure called the Forge. The ship on its way to attack them is called the Harvester, which strips captured ships of viable material. The cube had already been attacked by the Harvester, and it did devastating damage to them. She also reports that organic material was taken. Oh my god, they're trying to take our organic food! We've got to stop the... Wait, why am I worried about that? Take the overpriced crap, I could care less. No, of course they meant that the Harvesters take crew as well. Ensign Munro is tasked with getting the technology back from the Borg. Because of her being the expert on the Borg on the ship, 7 of 9 will be accompanying them on the mission. They're also given the prototype iMods and transporter tags to just slap on the tech and get it out of there. By the by, we're 16 pages in and Ensign Munro has had like 5 or 6 lines tops. They beam over to the cube in 2 teams and start walking around. Beastman decides it's time to inflict his personality on us. Where are the freaking Borg? I hate this creeping around when I could be kicking Borg butt. No offense, ma'am. I mean, as Borg butt goes, you got... Yes, comic, we're well aware that 7 of 9 is hot. I think the skin-tight catsuits they forced her to wear were kind of a giveaway on that intention. They make their way through the cube and start tagging technology, but eventually the Borg finally get wise to them and attack. Fortunately, the I-Mods are holding them at bay. Wow, these I-Mods really do the job, don't they? Pity that nobody made a video game or some toys out of these things. They manage to start forcing the Borg to fall back. Watch my back, Mr. Beastman. My pleasure! Seriously, Beastman in the game was a bit of a jackass, but not this much of a douche. Munro's team finds the last piece of tech and beams it out, but they're then confronted by an assimilated Foster. Oh, bullcrap! I saved him in the game! Oh, and of course Munro can't bring himself to shoot him. You know, assimilation is reversible. They could just, take him back and remove the implants. However, our panicky idiot version of Munro just orders an emergency beam out. What a load. 7 of 9 manages to disable the cube's weapons and engines from a single console, and they beam out as well. And once again, quick cut to the ready room where Tuvok berates Munro for not shooting Foster. Another no-win situation, Mr. Munro. They did win, you green-blooded idiot! Kill assimilated Foster was not on the mission objectives! Lieutenant Foster couldn't be saved. So yeah, while he isn't reprimanded for his decision, Janeway decides to hand command of the Hazard team to Tuvok for the time being. Great, they're going to end up killing each other by the end of the story. So instead of the big invasion of Voyager that was in the game, the ship is repaired enough to partially damage the Harvester ship and make it want to run away. Yeah, pity we couldn't do that, but we needed to make room for Tuvok acting like a moron instead. While they can't keep up at the speed the Harvester ship is going, Voyager is able to beam over 4 Hazard team members to it. Their objectives are to determine the purpose of the Forge and disable the dampening field that's keeping ships in the area. Of course, the Harvester ship is filled with giant space cockroaches. Luckily, the Hazard team is equipped with I-Mods, which I guess will be useful if the cockroaches adapt to your weapon frequency. They overcome the cockroaches, and the Harvester ship is brought into the Forge, which looks like the second Death Star under construction, but with a big pole down the center. They make their way through the Forge towards the dampening field's controls, but are intercepted by more cockroaches and big aliens that stand upright. However, they do manage to get the dampening field off, and Voyager speeds over to help them. The Hazard team makes it into another chamber and seals the door behind them. Beastman walks over to a bunch of tubes full of aliens and thinks it's a good idea to shoot the tubes, thinking it'll just kill them. For his trouble, he gets impaled on alien claws. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. The 3 are cornered, but thankfully it's Tuvok and 2 red shirts to the rescue. He says that they've equipped as many crew members with I-Mods as they could and beamed them over to the Forge, no doubt so that they can all get slaughtered horribly. These men didn't make it. That is regrettable. I can only hope that it was you who killed him, Ensign, or expect an official reprimand on your record. His efforts will not be forgotten. Yes, we will all remember how he kept leering at 7 of 9's ass. Tuvok's team goes off to figure out the purpose of the Forge, while Munro coordinates the other teams in running interference. So I guess they need to make sure the quarterback reaches the goal. Munro's team runs through the Forge and discovers more tubes full of aliens. They realize that the aliens are assembling an army using the materials they stole from the ships. All of a sudden, a telepathic call goes into all their heads. Desist! Leave now! You cannot destroy Tarlis! Tarlis will destroy you all! No! Not Tarlis! How can we fight against... Wait, what the hell is Tarlis? In the game, the aliens were called the Vohrsoth. Anyway, Tarlis basically confirms what the Hazard team had speculated, that the Forge takes materials and builds an army to conquer new areas before growing a new Forge in that new area, lather, rinse, repeat. The Voyager crew agrees that Tarlis' invasion plan has to be stopped, so they get to the fighting and the killing. Meanwhile, Munro's team enters a new area. I think we found the chamber containing the seed of the new Forge. This is Janeway. Describe it, Mr. Munro. It's orangish and it looks kind of like chewed bubblegum. How does describing it help you? The final boss of the level appears, a new Tarlis beast that of course looks nothing like the Vohrsoth final boss. Tarlis is conquest. Tarlis is the Forge. How do you know that? This process was begun millions of years ago. How do you know that? Maybe your makers only intended it for research. Yeah, maybe they intended the harvesting and the grabbing of ships from regular space and the alien soldiers in tubes made of other genetic material for research. Science is evil. Naturally, the Tarless beast isn't convinced and just starts shooting at them, the Hazard team responding in kind. All of a sudden, the Borg show up. Don't ask me, we go from the three taking cover to the Borg just being there and spouting out their catchphrases. With their help, they destroy the Tarless, and the assimilated Foster explains that the assimilated knowledge of Foster indicated that Munro and Voyager were worth saving, since their own survival depended on them. Weak. The away teams get beamed back to Voyager. Wait, what the hell is Chakotay doing there? We saw him on the bridge a minute ago! Anyway, the Borg and Voyager fire, the Forge is blown up, and Voyager gets blasted back into space 2 years closer to home than they were when they started. Janeway wants to thank Tuvok for his efforts, but Tuvok, in a startling display of not being a dick, says it's thanks to Munro for not killing Foster. That is incredibly stupid. The Borg didn't need Foster to be alive. Once he was assimilated, his knowledge and experience became part of the collective. Anyway, our comic ends with Munro being given command of the Hazard team and Voyager warping off. And the Hazard team was never heard of or mentioned again, at least never in the TV series. This comic sucks! Yeah, they have to cut out a lot for the transition of game to comic, but the characters are lifeless, in particular Ensign Munro's lack of badassery. The story's condensing leaves no room for the reader to catch their breath, and everything seems out of character and out of place. My recommendation? Go play the game, since it... Mr. Poyo, report!
We're receiving a distress signal. It's on a Federation frequency, but we're receiving it interdimensionally.
Let's hear it!
Aye, sir.
Ensign Munro! That's Lieutenant Munro. After I saved the universe, I got a promotion. What are you doing here? Since the rest of my crew are basically idiots, I went off on my own to try to find the other forges that the one Vohrsoth had warned me about. I have destroyed many of them, but the last one I was on had a boss Vohrsoth on it. I ran out of ammo before I could finish the job. How did you get here? All we received was a distress signal. The forge I was on was experimenting with interdimensional portals to this universe. Utilizing multimodal reflection sorting, I was able to piggyback a transporter beam onto the distress signal. Let's get you back to your ship so you can...
Captain, something else is coming in from the other dimension.
What? What? My god, it's the Vohrsoth! And it's very poorly animated! Vohrsoth! I am Captain Linkara of the Federation starship... Green Futon! I order you to return to your place of origin, or I will be forced to use deadly force upon you!
Foolish insect. We are Vohrsoth. This puny world and all of its inhabitants shall be harvested so that the glory... What was that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Please, go on with your little story.
The Vohrsoth shall ravage this world and
I'm sorry, my finger slipped. Say, you wouldn't happen to know if you're vulnerable to a frequency of 0.17 gigarends or 0.16, would you? No? Okay, we'll just try both. Munro, take a phaser and blast it to hell! Setting phaser to frag. Good job, Munro. We need to get you back to the forge so you can... The hell was that? Anyway, Munro, it's best we get you back to the forge so you can kick its ass. Will do. I've been looking into the Vohrsoth as well. I've actually discovered who it was that created them. Oh? Yeah. Ever hear of someone named Lord Vyce? It rings a bell. Your forces have done an excellent job in repairing me. But did they really need to put me back in this form?
I am not without a sense of irony. After we've completed the full upgrades to your new body, it is only fitting that this world's champion be destroyed by his own image.
What makes you think that that is what I'll do with it?
Really? Is there something else you'd like to do with your new body?
My goal remains the same. His destruction.
And the return to your universe.
Indeed. When I left, we were at a stalemate of magic versus technology. It would be interesting to see what has happened in my absence.
And in return for your assistance in crushing Linkara, I will spare your universe my wrath.
Agreed. But why the subterfuge? Why not an all-out attack?
My resources are limited at this moment. Better to conquer slowly, destroy him and his allies one at a time, so that when the time comes, I can move in unimpeded. In addition, I do not wish to alert the entity that I have founded again. I must be subtle.
If you were going for subtle, then the Vohrsoth was the wrong approach. To be truly subtle, we must destroy him psychologically. And what better instrument of such an attack than with something he feels he understands? Magic.